Director of InVets. Excited to have you guys joining us today. So real quick, look at our agenda for today's meeting. First, I'll give a short talk just about who we are as an organization, why you might consider starting your career here in Indiana or seeking further employment here in Indiana. Then we'll kick it over to Jeremy Higgins. He's one of our managers of veteran engagement. He'll be talking a little bit about expanding your LinkedIn network and going through some resume best tactics. And then we'll get to our employer spotlight. So our spotlight today is on IU Health, very large, awesome organization that operates throughout the state of Indiana. So we're excited to get to this. So first, what is InVets and why should you consider Indiana? So InVets is a nonprofit organization. First of all, we're set up as a public-private partnership, which means although we're a nonprofit, we work very closely with a variety of Indiana state agencies, other nonprofits, and a bunch of great employers throughout the state. So 100% of our staff is our veterans themselves. And what we essentially do is provide a digital connection point. There's a ton of companies here in Indiana that really want to hire veterans, that find a lot of value that veterans bring to their organizations. However, we don't have any major military bases here within the state, and it's very difficult for a lot of these employers to access those veterans that they would like to hire. So that's where we come in. Now, under normal circumstances, we would travel throughout the country on a routine basis, going to military bases, going through the transition assistance program centers and talking to folks face to face, having these conversations. But given the current circumstances, we're hosting events like this. We're reaching out via LinkedIn, via email, phone, trying to connect at a distance. And we utilize our website to provide that connection point. So invets.org provides the ability for veterans to go in, create a profile, look at open jobs, apply for those jobs, and get direct referrals to those HR departments. We currently work with over 150 employers across the state. Now, 85,000 open positions is what we had pre-COVID. We're still trying to figure out exactly what exists today, but there are a lot of employers that are still hiring. IU Health, who you'll hear from today, is being one of them. Through our website, we focus on a few key industries, trying to just create some awareness. I know when I got out of the Army, I served active duty Army, I was an infantry guy. When I got out in 2015, I had no idea what industry to go into. You know, what do you do when you're in an infantry unit? So here in Indiana, we have a few kind of major key industries, and we try and break those down on our website in terms that somebody just getting out can easily understand and identify some of those key core career pathways, what the steps are to be successful in those pathways, and then which employers are hiring out of those career pathways. And like I said, we do work with a lot of organizations. So, you know, there are some organizations that really get deep in the weeds with folks. You know, they'll write your resume for you. They'll give a lot of that one-on-one support. We recognize that not everybody necessarily wants or needs that direct, you know, heavy-handed one-on-one support. If you do want that, please reach out to us. We're more than happy to connect you to a lot of great organizations that we work with. What we try and do is try and provide that connection point for all of those that, you know, like myself, I wasn't going to talk to anybody when I got out. I thought I got it all figured out. And so we're trying to provide a tool that everyone can easily access to see what's out there and connect with employers. So here's some screenshots of the new website. So bear in mind, as you look through this is in its final stages of construction right now. So we threw it up on the internet live a couple weeks ago just to make sure we worked out any bugs. We'll do an official announcement here in the next couple of weeks to really fully launch it when all the functionality is complete and tested and everything. But we didn't want everyone to lose out on what this site had to offer in the meantime. So how our system works. So like I said, we generally suggest that you create a profile as a first step. We'll help you regardless. I mean, honestly, if you want to move to Texas or some other state, some other random state, we'll still help you out as much as we can. But our focus is here on Indiana, our network of employers here in Indiana. So creating a profile does a couple of things. One, it puts you on our radar. It gets you on the radar of our veteran engagement managers. They'll be reaching out to you to see if you need any assistance, if there's any major questions you have, anything like that. But more importantly than putting you on our radar, it puts you on employers' radars. On the employer side of this application, they can go in and sort and filter and keyword search and see who's out there and what your timeline is. And they might reach out to you for a career opportunity that you've never thought of. And the other thing that does is it allows you to do step number 2, and that's check out careers. So we've got a number of employer profiles on our site so far. We're still getting all of those that we work with fully integrated into our new system with full profiles. But once they are, they'll have job postings on there. And the way this works is, if you see a job posting on our website, let's say at IU Health or some other company, when you click that link from our website, it's going to take you to their application page, right, on their own website, whatever process they normally use. But when you come back to our website, you're going to see a button that says, "Did you apply?" And if you click yes, we're going to send an email to our primary point of contact at that company. It says, "Hey, a veteran, not just a veteran, but this specific veteran just applied for this specific job," to try and get you in front of an actual human being in the process. We think that's a big value add, try and create a second door for veterans into these organizations. And there's a lot of organizations across the state that are on board with that approach. So that's the general process. Like I said, there's a lot more on this website. Snapshot some of these employer profiles. They upload videos, they upload photos, they upload content about who they are as a company, what they do as a company. And we've got some of these career pathways mapped out. So I mentioned we've got those industries mapped out. So we'll give you an overview of what a career or what the technology industry is all about, for example. And then we'll show you some key career pathways. Now, a lot of people, when they think technology, for example, they think of coders, of developers. There's a lot more that goes into it than that. You don't necessarily have to know how to code to work in that sector. We have things like sales, for example. And then at the end of the day, we'll show you which companies are hiring out of these different key career pathways. All right, so switching from us over to the state real quick. Why should you consider moving to Indiana if you're not already from here? One is some of the great benefits they have around college tuition for your kids. So 2 great programs. One is Indiana offers free or discounted tuition and fees at any state school for veterans that have a disability rating. So there's a bunch of details that go into who qualifies and how much, but the gist of it is, if you signed up before 2011, you're grandfathered in. If you have any disability rating, your kids are going to go to school for free. If you signed up and listed after 2011, it's basically going to be 20% plus your disability rating is going to be the amount of your discount off of tuition and fees. So it's still a huge discount for most folks. There's a time requirement on how long you have to live here before that kicks in. So the max is 5 years that you would have to live here before that kicks in. But I know that helps a lot of people. It can be a really big consideration. It can save you a lot of money. And Indiana has some great universities. We've got IU, Purdue, Ball State, USI, a bunch of good universities that this applies to. And the second is that if you have a Purple Heart and you joined the military from Indiana, your kids go to school for free as well. So another big development that happened not too long ago, actually, almost a year ago, a bill passed that we'd fought for a while that will fully exempt military retirement pensions from Indiana state income tax. So they're phasing this in over 4 years. So we're about halfway through that right now. But big development. We join a handful of other states that do that as well. Other key benefits, property tax deductions. There's a variety of, again, a lot of details that go into this on disability status, wartime service, that type of thing, but you can get some significant property tax deductions here in the state of Indiana, as well as severely discounted hunting and fishing licenses if you have a disability rating. In Indiana, as far as communities go, as far as a place to live, it's a great place to raise a family. It's a great place to start your career or continue your career. On our site, you can see that we break the state down into 5 demographic regions. So we've got Northwest, Northeast, Southwest, Southeast, and then Central Indiana broken down. And on those pages, you'll hear more about what it's like to live there, key companies that are in that region, key attractions, that type of thing. But the main thing that Indiana has going for it is we have a wide variety of living environments. You can live in the heart of downtown Indianapolis, or you could work in the heart of downtown Indianapolis, that picture on the lower left, and 40 minutes drive, 30 minutes drive, you could live somewhere like that photo on the right. We've got lots of rural areas, we've got urban areas, we've got great suburbs. Some of our suburbs routinely make the list of the top 5 places to live in the country as far as quality of life, cost of living, education, and that type of thing. Great place to raise a family. I mean, that's why I'm here. That's why my dad moved here. My dad's from California originally. He moved here specifically because it was such a great place to raise a family. So Northwest Indiana, we'll just do a quick overview of these 5 different regions that we work with. Northwest, the key center of that region is Chicago. So right on the other side of the line, the state line is Chicago. You could live on the Indiana side, get the benefit of our tax structure, of our firearm laws, for example, and other great things like that, but still have that economic boost that comes with being near Chicago. Let's see. Northeast, the second largest city in the state's in northeastern Indiana. That's Fort Wayne. Great community, a couple 100,000 people in that city. A lot of good activities, festivals. They've got a lot of lakes up there. Really pretty region of the state. Central Indiana, obviously, has Indianapolis, the biggest city in the state. And then what we call the donut, which are all those counties that surround Indianapolis, a lot of great suburbs, great school systems, and you're still right there close to the heart of it. You've got the Indianapolis 500, which I wasn't that big into racing before I moved here, but once you go to the Indy 500, you get what it's about. You know, I think a couple of years ago at the 100th running, we had something like 400,000 people at that one event. So a lot of really cool stuff that goes on around here. And then as you get to the southern part of the state, you get into the hills, the woods, the outdoor lifestyle. Southeast Indiana has Columbus, Indiana, which is one of the architectural capitals of the country, believe it or not. They also have the headquarters of Cummins, a lot of other great companies that work in that have operations in that area. And then right across the river to the south, you've got Louisville. Right across the border to the east, you've got Cincinnati. And then, you know, you're still close to Indianapolis. So it's a good thing about a lot of these places is you're only an hour and a half drive from a lot of different metropolitan areas. And then Southwest. So this is where I'm originally from, down where in that southwestern tip of the state. You've got Evansville, Indiana. It's the 3rd largest city in the state. It's near my hometown. Again, great place to raise a family. Relatively small community, but you've still got some of those big city amenities. And again, you know, I think Evansville is about the same distance from Indy as it is from Louisville, as it is from St. Louis, Nashville. You know, you're kind of in the middle of all of it. All right, so now we're going to be turning it over to Jeremy. Let's bring this down, switch this over, and we'll bring Jeremy in. So while he's joining us here, let me point out that we do have this chat function over here on the right. I know a lot of you here have already found this. We've got Jerry Young, one of our veteran engagement managers, that is in there chatting it up. If you have any questions, please feel free to submit them over there on the right, and we'll take note of those, and we'll try and circle around and answer them. If not immediately, then towards the end of the presentation. And if you do have technical difficulties, this system has been known to be glitchy from time to time. And if that is the case, the best advice I have is to completely log out of it and then log back into it and see if usually that fixes the issue. So with that being said, I will turn it over to Jeremy.
Well, hi, everybody. My name is Jeremy Higgins, and today it's of course, a beautiful day outside, which is great to be presenting. I've been with InVets now for roughly 3 months, and what I found with our organization that makes it easy to come to work every day, which unfortunately we don't come to work every day right now, but factually the whole thing that's great is I get to work with veterans, and I'm very passionate about that. I retired out after 24 years. And so the whole item that I like to do is come out and talk to those that I've can go ahead and relate to on a day-to-day basis, and that's something that I can't get enough of. And then as well, the other item is that basically I've got a wife and kids, so I can also kind of share that with other veterans if they're wanting to come into the state. So I just recently had a guy from Germany. He's transferring over here, and we had a great discussion over the fact of what he can expect and everything down the line. So it's really a great thing that we're able to do there. So seem to be having some specific difficulties with the presentation. So
Hey, Jeremy, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hey, just say next whenever you want me to switch it. I can control it.
Oh, okay. You can go ahead and next it then.
All right, get it.
Yeah. Thanks, boss. All right. And you switch it again. It's not moving on my screen.
Oh, is it not?
Which slide do you have up right now?
I've got the first impression slide up.
Okay. Okay. So mine's not. Let me try to reconnect here real quick.
Are you seeing my screen at all?
No. Oh yeah, there it goes. It just switched. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, that's kind of odd. So, all right, apologize for the technical difficulties. So let's go over. We're going to discuss resumes. So, the key to any resume is truly making it your own. There's a lot of formats, as I said, the traditional format: name, location, email, and phone number. You should have that where it's easily readable at the top of the page, typically. The next comes, as you can read up there, the executive summary and qualifications. You really want to hit home with the executive summary. The biggest item with your executive summary, you're going to find out in a lot of occasions, especially if somebody senior in the organization is reading it, is the fact that that's their first impression. Just like a handshake, that is exactly what they're going to go off of. Who's this person? Why, what's this? What's that? They're going to totally understand, or they should understand, who you're about and what your qualifications are. Next, your chronological resume would give your job title and experience based upon the dates. That just makes sense, right? Chronological dates. Whereas your functional resume is going to give more of your experience base, which I found as far as military based, functional resumes aren't so bad because you got to figure everything is under the same header as far as we've all served in the military. So guess what? Your different functional areas would be specific to, as you move up the chain, what you're going to see. Your membership and awards, the one item, you of course include all those military memberships, like your VFWs, different things like that. You're also looking at your professional, relationships and memberships. Your awards, don't list all your military awards because most people don't know what those really stand for or anything else. So you want to make sure that you civilianize your resume and basically take those awards that are going to be pertaining to such. Your references, the biggest item on references that I've found, I served as an HR manager for 3 years, a part of an organization. We had roughly about 500 employees. We did hiring all the time, but specific to the references, you want to make sure it's somebody that can can talk about you in a positive light and spin your professionalism. Go ahead, next slide. Okay. As I said, first impression, power of a great summary. Can't be. You have to hit home with that. Punctuation and spelling errors. That's one of those items. If you're taking a look at a resume and there's punctuation and spelling errors, it shows that you don't necessarily want to take the time to make a good impression with the employer. So the ask question, of course, would that be, why would they take the time to go ahead and know about you? So they've got plenty of applicants or this or that. They want to make sure that you hit home with, as far as it's very simple. Do your punctuation and spelling errors. Make sure the information is accurate. I can't say that enough. Don't have outdated information. Continually update your resume. Like I said before, choose your references. Make sure that you go over them. Make sure you have accurate phone numbers, all that fun stuff. The 6-second rule by recruiters is fairly common. Make sure that your name is, of course, is very visible. It can be in a large font. Your professional history is, of course, accurate and up to date. In your work history, you want to make sure that you have measurable, reviewable, and proven results. That's going to set you apart from your peer group. Next.
Nope.
Okay, so catering to the employer, also referred to, what you want to take a look at is like your personal branding. Specific to this, you want to make sure that you brand each one of your resumes, rewrite it, take a look at it, make sure that you're hitting it home as far as in catering it to that specific employer, and focus on what that employer does and how it pertains to what you know. You need to know as far as the function of the job you're applying for, as well as other specific functions within that company. You want to make sure that you go ahead and uh, basically follow on, or make it very well known your relative experiences that relate to that position. Because if you don't specifically and correlate those two, what's going to end up happening is you're going to lose that employer's interest. Specifically, the company's current business objectives should have something to do in your resume. As I said, you're supposed to cater it to that company, but specifically, you want to make sure you bring out what you can contribute to that organization. What makes you special? As I said, cater it to that employer. Make sure that you make it special. Next. Okay, mentors. It goes without saying, we're not all subject matter experts on resumes. I have talked to countless numbers of people that, this person has this technique, this person has that technique. And straight away, it always seems like everybody has a different way of doing things. Make sure you consult multiple sources about crafting your resume. Your resume base should stay the same regardless of what organization you're applying to. But as I said, you want to cater to that. But you want to make sure that when you get those mentors, that they know what they're talking about. They're using up-to-date formatting, and make sure that it's very relative as far as to what you want to get. You want to listen and implement that advice. It goes without saying, if you're not gonna, why talk to them if you're not gonna use it? So make sure that you're talking to them, writing stuff down, and implement that change. It never hurts to ask for advice when you transition out to potential employers. So what I would recommend is, once you've identified those employers or that career field that you want to get into, reach out to that HR person, reach out to somebody within that organization that can act as a mentor for you. You can cater your resume to that, as far as, and use different, I'm not saying you're going to do it, word by word, but specifically they can tell you, what they do and how they do it and how they come about it. So that's one thing you want to go ahead and make sure that you hit, as far as utilizing those mentors. Reach out. Don't be shy, because the whole fact is they want to help. More than not, most people want to help veterans, period. Next slide. So understanding your audience. As I said before, you might want to reach out to those mentors as far as at that company. Google the company. It goes without saying, we forget about different assets. I can say beyond a doubt, with my experience and everything, I had a lot of people, as far as coming in and interviewing and different things like that. And I would talk to them about, I'm like, tell me a little bit about what our company does. And it would seem about like 30 to 40% of the people wouldn't have a clue of what we even did or reproduced. So straight away, make sure that you take a look at the company and you know what's going on. Employees of the company, You want to make sure that you understand the culture of that company. You understand, like, you can find that out through employees. You can find that out through Glassdoor. Make sure that you take a look at that audience as far as those different people that can give you insight. You may find that you don't want to work for that company because their culture is off, or there's different things that maybe there are military unfriendly companies out there. So make sure that you take a look. Google reviews is another avenue of approach that you can get that stuff. And the biggest thing is understanding the ask. Understanding, as far as if you were sitting on the other side of the desk and you were doing the interview to that employer, what do you think they're going to want to know? What do you think that they're going to want to go ahead and find out about you? So don't hold back, as far as victory goes to the bold in a lot of situations. Next slide, please. So to just to encompass some of the different things and key points, make sure that you use PDF format. You can develop it in Word. It's a little bit easier and everything, but then you need to convert it to PDF specifically. Civilian word speak. Do not use military jargon. It goes without saying, military jargon just doesn't fly in the civilian world. They don't know what you're saying, so you've got to civilianize your resume, period. No more than 2 pages. Condense it, do this, do that. As I had said before, a functional resume goes a long way with that. It allows you to go ahead and show as far as and encompass some of your talents rather than utilizing a chronological summary of every position you've had. Professional language. Professionalism is a key in the military. We've all been there, but they use different terms and terminology out here in the civilian workforce. So what you feel is professional on the military side is certainly not as such on the civilian side. Make sure that you take a look at that language. Use spell check. I had said that before. I can say it countless times as far as that's concerned. Make sure that you go ahead and use your spell check, use your grammar check, check all that fun stuff out. Don't try to hide any gaps of employment as far as if you ETS or get out of the military and you've got a gap there, it's easily explainable. Just make sure that you cover that if it comes up in the interview or otherwise. Next slide. We've included, as far as it looks like, Blaine's profile shot. As far as he's concerned, it says basically it covers the different positions he had. As you can see, this is something that we've utilized as our company resume per se. You can see at the top, it covers what he does, a little bit about, this is his LinkedIn profile. You can see how, if you looked at his LinkedIn profile, it's basically like looking at a resume. So, and I've seen Blaine's resume, it looks pretty similar. Next slide. All right. So next, excited to go ahead and introduce as far as IU Health's here today. And I know I don't have anything to that. So thank you for your time and have a great afternoon.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Hey, thanks, Jeremy. This is Sam Harris from IU Health. I am the Diversity and Inclusion Manager here. First and foremost, want to say thanks to Invest for this partnership. As Wes stated earlier, well, I'm going to say this. I won't take up too much of your time with my voice. I want you guys to be able to maximize time with our talent team. We have many of those individuals on the call and ready to answer questions for you. But as Wes said earlier, IU Health is one of the largest employers in the state, and we span a lot of jobs. We have a lot of jobs, a lot of surface that we cover. And when you think of IU Health, many of you probably think, clinically, a medic or an EMT or a nurse or a doctor. But we want to ensure that we have many, many more roles outside of just clinical and life-saving roles. We have IT, IS, a ton of supply chain roles. We have program manager, project management roles. So all of those things we want veterans and all of you to keep in mind when you think of IU Health. Yes, we save lives. Yes, we keep people alive as best as we can. But there's a lot of other facets and things that we do in our body of work. Identifying veterans is something that we as an organization and kind of myself has been tasked to do a better job of for IU Health. Our culture is a sense of belonging. We promote innovation, and we want everyone to be able to bring their authentic selves to our organization when they work. And that's a big part of this partnership, expanding our footprint into the veteran community, expanding our footprint and at bases. So as individuals are looking for new roles, looking to transition out of the military, or just trying to find that new career path, we want to be one of the first, if not the first, organization that you think of in Indiana. A lot of great reasons that Wes went over as to come here and live in Indiana, and we feel like IU Health is one of those great reasons to come here. We offer, again, a lot of opportunity and varied positions. But to Jeremy's point, we're also here to learn. Jeremy mentioned speaking military jargon and that sort of thing. And part of this partnership is for us here at IU Health to have a better grasp of that, understanding some of the things that some of the jargon, some of the lingo, some of the skill sets. We want to be able to not always have to put the ownership on you guys as veterans to explain to us. We want to broaden our horizons as well and learn how we can attract not only veteran talent, but veteran families. We have many roles available here, and we consider IU Health a large family. So when veterans come to Indiana to move, there are many times you're bringing your wife or your partner or your children or your parents or something like that. And we want you guys to know that we're here to take care of those folks along with you. So if those individuals need jobs or if those individuals are looking for spaces in the community to kind of thrive in, or just new to the city and want to kind of explore, we have those avenues as well. And we want to provide and encompass a whole kind of holistic point of view or perspective of working with us, because we truly are a family. So I will stop talking. I just wanted to share that quick blurb with you. Again, I want to maximize your time with our talent folks, and I'm going to turn it over to our talent team, and they're going to share what it's like to apply for a job and kind of some things you can expect when you're applying for jobs at IU Health, and we're open for dialogue. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your service.
Thanks, Sam. So I know we have Scott McNeil on here. Can you hear me, Scott?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hey, Scott, would you mind giving just a quick introduction to yourself and kind of what your role is with IU Health?
Yep, I'm Scott McNeil. I've been with IU Health since October, so I'm still fairly new, but I'm absolutely loving my experience so far. I do all of the recruiting and the talent acquisition function for our legal, marketing, finance, HR, and a lot of our project management roles.
So awesome. So what are kind of the hot button jobs that you guys typically look for? Is it just kind of, a mix at any given point in time?
Yeah, right now we have a lot of project management positions open, and I think one of the things to call out there, a lot of times if you're searching for a job, you may be searching for a specific title, but with project management, that's an important role to our organization. We actually have those across the entire organization. Basically, they manage really important functions to the teams that they're on. So, whatever area it is, whether it be finance, whether it be on the clinical side, whether it be, marketing, we have those project management positions. Definitely take a look at those, because they will be great opportunities to learn and grow and to really manage the process. And I think a lot of that experience that our candidates have on the call today will transition really well into those roles.
Awesome. So we do come into contact with a lot of folks that are getting out of the military that do want to come into that kind of project management role. What kind of credentials do you guys typically require? Yeah,
that's a great question. So a lot of times when you see project management, a lot of candidates will feel like, oh, I have to have my PMP certification or I have to be lean certified. With IU Health, a lot of our positions do not require those. We obviously want people to understand those concepts, but each job description will kind of call out what the requirements are. But a lot of the ones that we have really just want real life experience in managing projects from communication, logistics, all sorts of different aspects depending on what area that you're looking at. But really, that's the main focus for those roles.
Okay. So outside of project management, you mentioned HR. That's another one that we see a lot of folks. They're used to leading people in the military. They're used to maintaining records and doing counselings and trainings and all of that stuff. What's your recommendation to folks trying to get into that HR field? What's a good first step, either education-wise, credential-wise, or even entry-level position-wise?
Yep, another great question. So I would recommend, as we mentioned on this call, when you're doing your resume, really try to call out those things. As you look at job descriptions, it's going to kind of tell you what is expected or what the desired experience is for that role. Look at that as a guide and then be able to tailor your resume, especially in the HR field, towards that. So if you have experience leading or employee relations or with benefits or compensation or those specific areas of HR, be sure to call those out, especially the number of people that you managed or the number of people that you supported in that role, I think is key. And then the other thing that you mentioned is just being able to, if you don't have an educational background in HR, there's always other options to become HR certified through SHRM, through different channels that really can validate your knowledge and expertise within that field.
And for those that don't know what SHRM is, that's the Society for Human Resource Management. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. So, and they're a major organization. I know there's a lot of trade organizations out there in a bunch of different fields, but they're probably one of the more predominant in their field, right? Yeah, great resource. And they've got some veteran specific resources as well, as far as, assisting with resumes, assisting companies and connecting with veterans and that type of thing too. So I'd highly recommend checking them out as well. As far as education background goes for HR, are there any degrees that are relevant to HR that aren't just straight up human resources?
Oh, absolutely. Business administration, management, those are two that come to mind that I think encompass a lot of different areas. So, those would definitely fit in. Anything that I think can be related, that as long as you can kind of talk about that and be able to explain about how your experience, your education kind of falls into that field. I think a lot of employers, and especially IU Health, we're open to that now, where we can listen and really kind of connect the dots with those experiences and education.
Okay, awesome. So we just had Nicole join us here.
Hello. Sorry about that. I had some technical difficulties there.
That's the story of this hour, unfortunately. So Nicole, do you want to give a quick intro to yourself and what your role is?
Yeah, we'll do. So my name's Nicole Jarrett. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having us. We're so excited to be here. I've been with IU Health 3 years this month, actually. And I've been in recruiting since 2014. And at IU Health, I recruit for pharmacy, transformation, which is like your process improvement type roles, and clinical dietetics. But I know that we have a couple others on the call. Scott was just talking that can also introduce themselves and what they recruit for as well. So Scott, did you already do an introduction, or did you want to go ahead and do that?
Yes, I did. Yep.
You did. Okay. Did Tim and Tom introduce themselves?
So we'll have to rotate them in. So for those of you that are joining, now they can, let's see. Yeah, I can rotate them in, for example, to replace Scott or Sam.
Okay.
If we wanted to.
I can go ahead with the presentation. I know Tom was going to speak and Scott was going to speak on the slides. So as long as we have, if we can get Tom in.
Yeah. Hey, Wes, this is Sam. Go ahead and boot me out so that way Tom can speak.
Okay, will do. Thanks, Sam.
I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let me see if I can. figure this out. Can you guys see the Internet Explorer?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Well, I will start with the PowerPoint here. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly go over how to search and apply for a position at IU Health. So instead of looking at this slide, I'm just going to go straight to the careers page. This is the careers page link if you want to jot that down. And then this is the actual careers page here. So what you would do, it's pretty straightforward. You'd click or search for the job title that you're interested in. I heard project manager you guys were talking about as I jumped in. So we'll search project manager. You can put a zip code, but if you want to search the whole state, you can just search careers. And then a ton of different project manager roles pull up here, as you can see. So to click on a posting that interests you, just click on the link there. And then it outlines the job description. So it has the title, the address, or the location, or the hospital that you'd be working at, how long it's been posted, what the shift and schedule is. This is day shift, full time. And it has a little description here, so you know a little bit more about the role, the qualifications. They have it pinned here for you, so you know exactly where the location is, a little bit more about IU Health. And then any related jobs to that position will pop up down here as well. To apply, you simply just click apply now and start the process. Let's see here. And then if you also take a look at the first page, I'll go back. If you're not sure about, what a project manager role would entail, or what HR might be like, or what specific roles might look like, there's tons of videos down here that you can click on and to learn what a job or a day in the life in that position might be. We don't have all of the positions on there with videos, but we do have a big chunk of those, so you can kind of see what some of those would look like. And I'm going to hand it over to Tom to talk about the hiring process. Can you guys see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Now, okay, great.
We can see that, but it's bringing Tom in right now. So he's
okay. Awesome.
There we go. He just reinitiated that process. So that's really cool. So back on the website, you're saying they've got videos that go into detail on each position?
Yeah, it kind of gives you just like an overview of what the role might entail, what it looks like, the environment, just to kind of show you what a day in the life might be like, which is pretty cool.
Now, are those primarily the medical positions?
What's that?
Are those primarily the medical positions, or is that a wide variety?
I know there's a variety. So I know that I believe we have a video for the revenue cycle. I know Kim's on the line. Maybe she can mention in the chat if there's a video for that. I know there's a video for patient care assistants, nursing, and a variety of roles out there. I know that they're not all clinical.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one plug I will give for the medical side is, I was an infantry guy, and one of the guys that used to work for me got out. He was probably 23, something like that when he got out. And he went to a trade school, became a plumber up in the Philadelphia area, and ended up, making great money, did it for like a year or two, but he was missing out on kind of the passion or the purpose behind it. He was turning wrenches, but wasn't feeling fulfilled in what he did. So he dropped everything, went to nursing school, and now he's a nurse up in
awesome.
Up in the Philly area, and absolutely loves it. So I think it's it's one of the things people really enjoy in the military, is having that camaraderie, sense of purpose, knowing that you're doing something significant on a day-to-day basis.
Definitely.
So just because you don't have a medical background doesn't mean you can't,
Exactly.
Just like to put that bug in the back of people's minds.
That's a great story. Did we get Tom in?
It started to.
Okay. Otherwise, I can cover it and keep it moving.
Yeah, maybe we should just go ahead and do that. I'm not sure where he is in that process yet.
Yeah, I'll just kind of take it from here then. So this is a quick overview of the hiring process at IU Health. So the average process length is about 6 weeks from the time you submit the application to the time you start. So the first step is to submit the application, just how I showed you on the careers page there. You'd want to fill that out, in its entirety, make sure all your positions are listed, having a cover letter, resume uploaded, having all of your personal contact information, making sure that's all accurate so we can get a hold of you. And then the next step after that, after you apply, I would say it's usually a couple of days before you might have a recruiter reach out to you to set up that initial phone screen to discuss your application. It does depend on the role that you're applying for. Most of those professional level positions require that first initial phone screen. So more than likely you'll get that call. And so on that call with the recruiter, it's typically 30 minutes or less. We talk about, why you're interested in the position, why you're interested in joining IU Health. What if you have done clinicals or you have a medical background, we might ask you what you've enjoyed about those just to figure out where the best fit might be. So, nursing has a ton of different units that we could potentially send your application over for. So we want to make sure we're narrowing that down and trying to find the best opening for you. We'll send your application over to as many as we see fit or as you see fit too. And then we may ask you some behavioral based questions as well. So tell me about a time when you faced conflicts. That's an example of a behavioral based question. And then after that, we're sending your application over to the hiring managers. Usually it takes them up to a week to review your application, and then they'll review your application and they will be the ones to reach out to you directly. So right after the phone screen with the recruiter is when you'll have that direct contact with the hiring manager, and then they'll set up that initial interview with them. All interviews right now due to COVID-19 are virtual. So it would be in a format like this where you're doing Skype or FaceTime. And depending on the position level, it'll be a one to a couple panel, one interview up to, I would say, 2 to 3 panel interviews. And then after that, we typically will make a decision, we'll run a reference check, and then we'll extend an offer. And then at that point, you would decide to either accept or decline, hopefully accept. And then we would start the onboarding process, which is the background check and whatnot, and that usually takes up to a week. So that's the process from start to finish there.
Okay. I think we do have Tom now, by the way.
Great. Tom, did you have anything else to add to that?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Yes, I think you touched on a lot of those. Good. Perfect. Thank you.
Good. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you both, Wes and Nicole. And good. Perfect.
Then Scott, did you want to handle these slides?
Yep, absolutely. So
Awesome.
As I mentioned in my introduction, I'm still fairly new to IU Health, but one thing that quickly stood out to me was our vision as an organization and our values. And we wanted to cover those with you briefly this afternoon, just so you can get a better idea about who we are and what we stand for. So the IU Health Way describes why we exist, which is our vision to make Indiana one of the healthiest states in the nation. And that's evident with everything that we do, whether you're in a clinical position or whether you're in a professional position, or what we would call like a marketing or a finance or an HR position. The IU Health Way describes what we deliver, which is our promise to be the best care designed for you. You see that a lot in our marketing throughout all of our different channels. And the IU Health Way also includes a new set of values which describe how we will achieve our vision and deliver on our promise. So our values are excellence, team, purpose, and compassion. So for excellence, we want to do our best at all times, no matter what we're involved in. Team, we count on each other we count on each other and we care for each other. Our purpose is we want to do good work for the lives of others, and compassion, which is absolutely one of our most strongest values. I think we treat each other with respect, empathy, and kindness. Joining the organization in October, I quickly saw orientation that these are lived and are visible every single day in our organization. We get daily emails from our executive team that really outline all these IU Health values as well. So these are very prevalent. They're very upfront with our organization. And these are the things that we're looking for as we bring new teammates onto our team.
Thanks, Scott.
Very cool.
Well, I want to make sure we leave enough time for questions. I don't want to keep talking and then hog all the time. So what questions do you guys have for, I know Kim didn't get the chance to introduce herself, but Kim is on the phone too. She recruits for the revenue cycle of those professional level positions, and Scott, Tom, and I.
Yeah, I saw Kim request to speak for a
Okay.
second, then it vanished.
Oh,
So
no.
Kim, if you can hear me, if you do want to request to speak again, I can throw you on here. But in the meantime, we have a question from Adam. Said, have you explored the opportunity to have service members intern under the DoD Skill Bridge program? So for those of you, this is actually good for both the folks tuning in and potentially you all at IU Health to consider. There's something called the DoD Skill Bridge program that essentially allows service members within the last 6 months of their military obligation to go work for a civilian employer. They're still paid by the Department of Defense. It doesn't cost the company a thing, but it gives them both to kind of test drive each other. It gives that veteran the chance to see what that environment looks like in real life, if they would like that industry maybe, and it gives that employer kind of a test drive of that potential candidate as well. So there's a process that both employers and veterans have to go through. And you have to get commanders, sign off and all of that from the service member side. But just so you know, Nicole, there are a number of folks that are interested in taking advantage of that if IU Health ever does. I don't think you guys do currently.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely have to take a look into that and partner with Sam to talk about doing that.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, the reason, so the DoD Skill Bridge program, it's an awesome program. Up until maybe a year and a half ago, it was restricted to employers that were within 90 miles of a major military installation. So that's one of the things that we've unfortunately been set back on here in Indiana. Not being within that radius of a major installation means that most employers have no idea it even exists. And that's something we constantly do, is try and create awareness of that. That restriction just got lifted. And the reason that restriction was in place to begin with is that the expectation from DoD was that while you were doing this internship, essentially, you're getting paid by the military, but they're not going to pay for a PCS move. They're not going to pay for your transportation, and they're not going to provide housing, basically. Mm-hmm. So they lifted that restriction just in case you're willing to provide your own housing or maybe a family in the area or something like that. So that was an awesome thing that they were able to do. But just so you know, that's kind of just so everyone knows, that's kind of the backstory to that program.
Yeah, no, thanks for that context.
All right, so let's see. I'm going to give it another go of trying to get Kim in here. And if we can't, then I'll try and bring Sam in. All right. Are there any other questions as far as the process goes? I know each employer has different, and I think Jeremy touched on this, but different preferences as far as resumes go or that type of thing. Mm-hmm. Is there any common do's or don'ts that you see from your perspective, Nicole?
I mean, listening to Jeremy, I think he covered most of the main things that I would hit on. I would say including a cover letter would be a way to set yourself apart, just to kind of explain a little bit more about you that really a resume can't, and why you're interested in the position and why you'd be a good fit for the position. I always read those when I get an application and I see that there's tough competition and a lot of people are applying. If someone wrote a cover letter, I'm more likely to consider that application. Does that help?
Now on those cover letters, so my little brother is graduating college and he's going through this, and I was giving him advice. And I told him from my perspective, when I wrote my first cover letter, I don't know how long ago that was, but it was told to me that it's kind of like a formula, it's very structured, very, and my advice to him was, you want to still seem like a person and get across what it is you're really interested in doing, what you really want to do. and the version he sent back to me was too unstructured.
Yeah.
Right? It was too casual. So give me advice on that front on.
Yeah, no, I mean, you could Google how to write a cover letter and you could, literally get a template and plug and play. So I would agree with you. There's definitely a structure, but you want to have a fine balance between being professional and personal. So I think just getting another set of eyes on it, have your, parents or friends or significant others read it and put the hat of a recruiter on and see what they would think. But yeah, I mean, I would always side on the side of professionalism. So
Okay.
I don't know if that helps, but
So when you look at a resume, what's the first thing you look at? Is it education and training, or is it experience? Or
it depends on the role. It really does. I recruit for clinical positions, so I'm looking for that licensure and education. But I would think for a professional level business type role, they're looking at the experience, relevant experience first. But Scott could probably speak to that a little bit better than I could.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, the farther you get or the more experience you have, that's really what needs to be at the top of your resume. And more times than not, the more experience that you build, that education piece will normally be down at the bottom, but it's more of a qualifier. It requires a bachelor's or requires whatever. So, but yeah, no, I agree that you definitely want to highlight your experience and call that out. And the other piece I would add there too, from a resume standpoint, is make sure your resume kind of tells your story. Like, we want to know who you are, what your experiences are. We want to get to know you better. And that resume is our first snapshot. So being able to see that and kind of making sure that it flows well and that we can understand kind of what you've been through really helps us to get to know you. And it basically wants us to get to know more about you.
Okay. What about certifications versus degrees? Like, I know a lot of folks getting out of the military are going after these PMPs and stuff like that. How much weight does that hold? I guess it's probably primarily for you, Scott.
Yeah, I think it's good. I mentioned earlier that a lot of our project management roles don't require a PMP, but those certifications, the whole point of those is to really, they certify that you know what you're doing. You've passed the test, you've done the curriculum, you've met with instructors, you've demonstrated the knowledge. So having those certifications, I think, is just a way to be able to separate you from the competition.
Are there any especially strong ones that always kind of stand out to you? Does Six Sigma matter? Is that better than a PMP or less than a PMP? Does it? I don't know. I guess there's a lot of certifications out there, and I just wonder if some are more rare than others.
I would say for IU Health, we're huge on being lean and process improvement. So the Six Sigma certifications, when I see those on an application, I definitely am excited. I also recruit for transformation, which is process improvement. So I might be a little biased, but Scott, what do you think?
Yeah, no, and that's a great question. I think, one of the things you could do, because there are a lot more certifications than what there were 5 years ago. So, a tool that you can use, do some research before you invest money and time into a certification. But one of the things you can also do is to see how much that was out there. So if you go to like LinkedIn and you do a search for those credentials, you'll see how many people have that and how reputable it is. If you do a search and you're only finding like 2 people that have that accreditation, may not be as popular as some of the other ones, and that may be an easy test to be able to do that. But a lot of the major ones, PMP, Lean, I look at those for mine as, hey, you put time and effort into getting certified because it's something that you're serious about. So for HR, obviously SHRM. There's a couple of other ones out there. I think SHRM is the big one there, and they're starting to have a lot of different variations to their certification. So, it just depends. You got to do your homework with it. It's an investment. So,
yeah, research and preparation is key. Definitely.
As far as applying goes, would you recommend that people apply for multiple positions at IU Health simultaneously? Definitely.
Yeah. If they have interests across multiple different types of roles, I would suggest applying for all that interest you, just to have more opportunity.
how would you recommend they navigate that cover letter? Does it hurt if somebody says I'm the perfect person for this project management role, and then the next one they say I'm this perfect person for the finance role?
Yeah, you tweak it
or
to
do you
the
kind of
job.
okay?
Yeah, there's been times where I would look at an application and they attached a cover letter that they meant to attach to a different job they applied for,
Yeah.
and it doesn't look great. So just make sure you're kind of tailoring your cover letter to the position that you're applying for.
But I guess if you hire for multiple positions, so like Scott, if you get a cover letter for an HR position and the same person applies for a finance position, do you look at those in tandem, or do you separate those and really silo those depending on the position that's on your desk at the moment?
Yeah, no, normally we call them requisitions. So I'll go through by requisition. If I'm working on one, I'll go through. Usually, I'll read the job description again because I want to make sure that's fresh in my mind before I start looking at resumes and candidates who have applied. And then what I do from there, is it a match? Are they meeting the minimum qualifications for the job? And then from there, what stands out? What are they presenting things that the hiring leaders told me that they're looking for, things like that. But, if I get someone who's applied for an HR role and a finance role, I'm going to take a quick double look because, those are really different. So, to me, I want to understand kind of where they're coming from and really look at it. And if they're not qualified for one, I normally would not forward that on. But, if it was one versus the other, the one that is, I would definitely forward on to the hiring leader for review. But the other one, if they're not, I wouldn't. So I don't get too much of that, but it's case by case. And normally we take them one rec at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And just to recap, so especially like knowing how this seems from the opposite side of the screen here, the process, so that hiring leader that you're talking about, that would be like the department head or whoever the first line supervisor is in that would be overseeing this role. Is that correct?
Yep.
Typically, yeah.
And then you guys pretty much take you provide the job descriptions, the postings out there. You do the initial screenings, kind of narrow it down, and then they kind of make the final decision. The hiring manager does.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
How many do you guys typically narrow it down to, or does it depend on the role?
Depends on the role for me. I would say I probably screen upwards of 300 applications a week, and maybe send over a quarter of those.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. No,
Now, is there like?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Scott. Sorry.
I was going to say, no, that sounds similar for me as well. And it for me, when I'm working with hiring leaders, I always tell them I'm going to keep screening and I'm going to keep providing great candidates until you tell me that you're ready to call it and that you've got your candidate identified.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Now, do you guys use applicant tracking systems or anything like that to do a pre-screen before the screen?
So we have the capability to add it's called a pre-qualifying question. And those types of questions are always tied to the job requirements, or like the shift. So if someone could say, if the position was a night shift position, we might say, are you willing and wanting to do a night shift position? And they say no, then they won't be able to apply. But a lot of times it depends on the recruiter if they want to add those into the posting. So
Sure.
most of the time it's really just our initial screen after you apply is that first screening.
So I know when I got out of the military, I would see these job descriptions and they would have requirements, and I didn't meet all. Maybe met 90% of them, but not one. Is it pretty hard and fast? You have to meet every single requirement, or are there exceptions made given certain circumstances?
I would say, again, it depends on the role. Like, for example, I recruit for pharmacists. So if they didn't have a licensure or have a pharmacist doctorate, then that's pretty hard and fast. But for Scott's positions, it might be a little bit more of a gray area. But I'll let him speak to that.
Yep. Nicole brings up a great point. The key there is to really look at the wording in the job description. So a lot of times, maybe with education, it may say requires a bachelor's degree, ... or a combination of experience. So that opens it up for, as some of the licenses that she's talking about, those are going to be required. Those are absolutely, it'll say or even some of the roles we have may say bachelor's degree required, and that's it. So if it does state that, that person will need a bachelor's degree as price of admission to be eligible consideration for that role. But it's all about preferred versus required, and looking at that
Exactly.
description.
Yeah, if it says preferred, then apply away if you don't have it.
Okay, sounds good. And you mentioned the average process takes about 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Has the whole COVID situation influenced that at all? Made it longer or shorter?
Again, I think it depends on the leaders that we're recruiting for. A lot of them really adapted the virtual interviewing methodology. Some of them were a little hesitant to do that. And so that might have slowed down the process, because I know some might have waited to see how long it was going to take to kind of get out of the virtual interviewing phase. But we are still hiring like crazy. So we haven't put a halt on it or anything like that. But I would say, if anything, it might have delayed the process a little bit, but hopefully not too much.
And Sam may have covered this earlier, but I think you guys are a lot bigger than most people know, even within the state of Indiana. You have over 30,000 employees or something like that?
Yeah, we have 34,000. And we used to be the largest employer in the state until Walmart surpassed us last year.
Okay.
Yeah, now we're number 2.
Yeah, now we're number 2.
And you guys are completely dispersed throughout the entire state, right? Is there any portion of the state where you guys don't have offices?
Way down south.
Yeah, I would say super south. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you guys were in Evansville now. No?
Are we? I don't think we are.
Not to my knowledge.
Paoli.
Yeah, I know that there are some discussions about a potential business venture in Evansville, but I don't know how solid that is.
I know, maybe I'm thinking of the IU Med School was putting down there was some office. I don't know. I think this was before I even joined the military. So I don't know. It could have all changed since then.
Hey, this is Sam. One more time. I know we're at time, and this is a great conversation, but I want to make sure that this gets in there to all of the candidates, individuals that are looking for roles. Part of IU Health, and Scott touched on this a lot in his slide deck. We want you to have the skill sets and the ability to perform roles, but we also are looking at the culture. We're looking at the fit for certain roles. But at the same time, we want you guys to make sure that you fit with us. We want you guys to interview us, ask us questions. You could see the allure of IU Health and being a large organization, and we're affiliated with the school, and we're cutting edge technology in children in the pediatrics area and adult area. But that doesn't mean it will necessarily be a good fit for you. So we want to make sure, and I want to make sure that you guys understand and hear it firsthand. We want you guys to ask us questions, interview us, ask us about our culture, ask us about anything, because we want you to make the best decision for you and your family as well.
I would definitely echo that. I mean, it's a two-way street. It's not just us interviewing you. You definitely have to be interviewing us and prepare questions that are important to you about your next career opportunity. That's a great point, Sam.
Yeah, thanks. So we are pretty much out of time, a little bit over actually. Really appreciate you guys bearing with me through these technical difficulties. My guess is we'll probably have a new platform by the time we do this next one. Based on this.
Curve.
Yeah. Part of it's a curve, and part of it I think is just the underlying software. So we'll get it fixed.
Yeah. If there's anyone, candidate or anything like that wants to continue the conversation or speak to any of us, Wes, I will speak for myself. I won't put any of our other IU Health folks out there, but I'm sure they're willing to. Wes has our information, so please feel free to get in touch with us if you're inquiring about a career, or if you're just looking for some tips about how to navigate things. It could be resume tips. It could be what type of questions should I ask. Please reach out to us, and I'll volunteer myself. I'm actually talking to a few individuals that Blaine connected me with already. So, I mean, let me be the point of contact first, and I can disperse it amongst the talent team. Or, like I said, I know that our talent team is ready and willing to hire. So many of them may want you to contact them directly. But to Jeremy and Wes's point, please don't be shy. Reach out to us because we're here to serve.
Yeah, I would second that. Feel free to contact me directly. I love helping with all that kind of stuff. So definitely.
Awesome. You guys are both on LinkedIn, right?
Mhm.
Or Scott
Correct.
as well?
Yep.
All right, awesome. And for our part at Invets, feel free to use us as a resource as well. We work with a lot of great companies. We've got this new site coming online right now, so I'd highly recommend you check that out if you haven't seen it already. I know Jerry has been active in the comments over here. Yeah. We'll friend you if you haven't already friended us on LinkedIn to everyone that joined. So let's see. Yep. And Jason asked if I could email the slides. Yeah. So that was another glitch we had that I didn't mention is it wouldn't upload our slide deck. So I'll make sure and send this out. Everybody, you should be getting an email in about 24 hours. I'll have a recording of this conference. So you'll be able to review all this information then. But I'll make sure that we send out this PowerPoint presentation we went over as well. And a follow-up email from us directly. So if there's no further questions, then I will wrap it up here. So thanks again, everybody, and join us next time.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.